Today we're going to be talking about this beautiful yellow and gray quilt pieced by my friend Barbette Bazilla. She's really good at getting her corners right together, and her quilts always lay nice and flat, so I love to do her work. This is a quilt that has basically two blocks in it. It has a 9 patch and another square surrounded by 2 strips. So it's a very simple quilt, but it is really, really pretty. She did a nice job with her fabrics. I want to talk about the rulers really quickly. I have pineapples on my shirt because I got new rulers from Linda Hershka, the Quilted Pineapple. I love her rulers. I'll talk about those in another video. I used her number 20 on the arcs here. I used another one that was not Linda's on the other arcs. I wish I just would have stuck with her rulers because I really like her rulers. I'm not sure who's this. This doesn't have a name, so I'm not bashing anybody. I also used Linda's straight rulers to do a little traveling. You'll see that in the video. The other important ruler that I used in this one was the, it's a long ruler so that I can span a long distance for a straight line without having to move the ruler. It helps so that you don't have little glitches in your long lines, and I also use it for cross-hatching in big areas. This is by Terryloy Enterprises, Terylloy. They're Nova dealers in Utah, and I really do like the rulers because they're heavy and they stay in place, and because they're thicker, your hopping foot doesn't jump over the top of them. So if you're interested in how I use these rulers to quilt this quilt, stay tuned. Okay, we are going to discuss the easiest way ever to quilt a 9-patch quilt block, but make it look really cool. Okay, so we have a 9-patch block here, and a 9-patch is when it has like 9, this one has 9 squares, 9 patches together. One of the patches is divided, one of the squares is divided into 2 rectangles, but we consider that a whole patch. So what we've done is some very simple straight line quilting in this block. You can see that the quilting goes from point to point up there to the top of the quilt block right there, and the middle line as well. From left to right goes from point to point. But as it is going point to point, you can see that it intersects the block intersection, the piecing intersection. So we have some landmarks that we need to hit when we are stitching this out, and actually those landmarks help us to get some straight lines. So what this is, this one goes through the center, like I said, point to point. You see our intersection there we're hitting. So the center line has stitching to the left that's 1/2 inch away, and we have on the other side, we like to be symmetrical, 1/2 inch away, and this line is 1 inch from here, and we have 1 inch from there. So there's 4 lines, same pattern, same measurements, 1 inch to here, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch. And I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about how we get those and get some consistency with them and keep our lines straight. We already discussed the rulers that we use for this block, and we're going to get busy. So let's zoom over here. And we're going to do, I like to do the center line. We're going to pick up our bobbin thread, grab that, hold on to our thread tails, take a couple small stitches, and that gets us started. Probably not what you do on a show quilt, but that's what we do for most of our blocks. Now our center one, you'll see that we have a point on this end, point on the other end. That gives us 2 markings. Here's another one right here that we're going to hit. We're going to sew through that, and we're also going to sew through that one out there. So that actually gives us 4 points. To really get a straight line, you need 3 lines because you can rock a little bit on 2, but if you have a 3rd, that really makes sure that you're headed in the right direction. 2 is okay, but 3 is better. So we've got a ruler lined up. We are 1/4 of an inch away. Our needle is down in our point, and let's head out. Okay, there we go. We're in our corner. Okay, so now what we can do, I like to take a small ruler. This is Linda Hershka's ruler. This one fits in here. Oh, I have a bug. Look at that. Hello. I hate bugs. Go away, bug. Go away. He likes my light. I'm quilting at night. It helps us. The shadow. You know, that's a good point, Mr. Bug. I'm filming this at night because it's actually easier to see at night. It's easier to quilt at night. When you have, all I have is the light on my machine on. I don't have my ceiling lights on because quilting shows up best with shadows. So keeping the light a little lower actually helps me see better. And even when you take pictures, they're better at night or when you have low light, because then you can see the shadows of where the stitching is pulled down. But that will be, I think it's a good idea, talking about photographing quilts. That'll be another video. Thank you, Mr. Bug. So anyway, we're a 1/2 inch out. We're going to make a mark with our air erasable purple pen. And we'll just make a couple other down through here, a 1/2 inch away from our stitching line that we just made. So we're going to travel a little bit to our purple dot right there, and then we can match up, and we place our ruler a 1/4 inch away from our dot, because the sew foot here from the needle to the edge of the foot, remember, is a 1/4 inch. So we're not actually stitching on the edge of this ruler. That's where the edge of the outside edge of the foot rides. So our stitching ends up being here. So we want to put, if our dot is here, and that's where we want our stitching to come to, then we want to move our ruler a 1/4 inch away. And there's our other purple dot. See how we have the ruler a 1/4 inch away, and we hit our dot perfectly. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is mark. Remember, our next one is 1 inch away. So we are going to mark 1 inch away here. And then we also, we can't see it, but it's actually, we're hitting this intersection over on the other side. So I'm just going to mark up here in the yellow, just to give us something to shoot for on the other end. Line up the end of our very, very long ruler. That helps. So I'm going to use the little one just to scoot. And there's our purple dot. We're lined up with the intersections of our patchwork and the purple dot at the other end. And there we go. Now, understood that everybody's patchwork isn't perfect, and you know, fortunately, this lady, this is not my quilt, oops, she is a very good quilter, and her blocks are pretty square, and I can hit these intersections. Once in a while I have to tip the ruler just a little bit, because I think it's more important that you hit those intersections than to stay 110% straight. So sometimes you have a quilt that the the patchwork isn't square, or their corners aren't lined up, so maybe this wouldn't be the best choice of stitch pattern for that type of quilt. So then you just choose something different. But this is very good piecing, so we can use our piecing as a guide of where to quilt. So 1, 2, 3, 4 lines over gives us an inch. I'm going to go to mark it at the other end. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to, oh, I have, shoot, that's not right. Ha! We need to do a 1/2 inch. And here's the sweet, there's Mr. Bug again. He's on my finger. Oh my gosh, he's on my finger. Ah! Oh, he likes my light. Okay, this is great because we don't really, we can use the the line on our ruler over top of the other previous stitching line gives us a 1/4 inch, another 1/4 inch to our stitching line, so we have a 1/2 inch out, so we don't even have to mark this one. We can just zip. Okay, so now from that stitching line, whew, glad we caught that. From that stitching line, we're going to mark 1 inch away. This could have been a lesson in how to rip out stitches. And we have our mark for the other end of our long, long ruler. And we are going to travel up to our purple dot. And you may, that's the old purple dot. Good heavens. There's the new purple dot. You know, you may think making these dots is, you know, might be kind of a pain, whatever. It's worth it, you know, to give yourself some guides so that when you do stitch, you know you got it. Just zip. Now we're hitting the intersection right there. Hitting the intersection off by a stitch. And our purple dot, and there we go. So let me tie off here. I have a great button on my machine that I can tie off. I'll have to go over buttons sometime. That'll be a good video. So and then clip my threads. Clip my threads. And let me show you our 4 awesomest lines. Is that a word? Awesomest? So this was our boo-boo, wrong purple line, or purple dot, but you know what? That will disappear. It will, this is our air erasable pen, and that just fades as light hits it, and we'll be good to go. I don't have to go back and erase that. Look at this cool center. Isn't that beautiful? We've got hit a corner there. So we are pretty darn good. Or maybe a little stitch off there, but you know what? I'm not sweating that. That still looks great. So you don't have to be exactly perfect. It is hand done. But isn't this great? This little section in here, you get a little 4 patch in here. You get a nice little geometric design. And then what happens, we'll show you an overall picture of this quilt. This quilting tends to draw your eye then in an up and down and side to side pattern, which gives you, and then if you can see over here, here's the next block that's also been sewn. It pulls your eye from one block to the other and gives you this linear track to follow. And then you also have, with the way she's done her colors in this quilt, your eyes also travel in this X pattern. And then you can see up there is the other one. So you've got a lot of secondary patterns going on in this quilt, and it's going to be beautiful. So we'll show you that whole process on, you know, a big picture here in a little bit. I've got some more lines to go here. I'm going to finish up this block, and then we'll come back and show you how we do our curve on that block. Okay.